Hello, my name is Mendiola-Tagle. I'm a pianist of 12 years and an instructor of beginner piano, and this is my method book, the Classical Parlor Piano Method Book, specially designed for children ages 6 to 11, written and illustrated by me. I'm going to walk you through the first chapter of the book to show you how I use it to teach beginner piano. Let's begin. Here in the index, you can see that the book is comprised of 5 chapters, each built of 4 lessons. The chapters cover basic sight reading, musicianship, moving hands, and playing with hands together. Now, before the first chapter begins, there are a few pages of foundational information to help young students get their footing. In this first foundational page, you can see an explanation of treble and bass clefs, as well as an explanation for a measure and time signatures. Notice how there are many explanations for what the individual numbers in the time signature mean. Below this is an explanation of note and rest values for a quarter, half, and whole beats. On the next page, you can see a basic explanation of the notes on the treble clef. There is an illustration of where the notes are on the staff and on the piano in relation to middle C, as well as mnemonic devices to help learn the notes more easily. Every good boy does fine for the lines, and face for the spaces. The bass clef is taught in the same way as the treble clef, with illustrations of where the notes are on the staff and on the piano in relation to middle C, and mnemonic devices for lines and spaces. Grizzly bears don't fear anyone, which I came up with for the lines, and all cows eat grass for the spaces. With this foundational information in place, students can readily jump right into the first chapter of the book. Now, each lesson in this book follows a basic formula. If you look in the upper left corner of the page, you can see a basic explanation and illustration of the lesson concept, which in this case is the 5-finger position in the right hand. Next to this is a basic lesson plan that a teacher can choose to follow if they so wish. It includes things such as clapping and counting the rhythms, pointing to and singing the note names, and playing the piece while singing the finger numbers and while singing the lyrics. Below this is the lesson music itself, which always includes finger numbers on top, and most often also includes fun lyrics on the bottom. Below this is a teacher's accompaniment that is used to enhance the musical sound of the lesson pieces and have students have more fun with each lesson. The music itself is simple enough for teachers to be able to play with ease, regardless of their skill level. Allow me to demonstrate. Finally, on the side you can see a thematic title and matching illustration. This is to help students become more engaged with each lesson and have a fun time as they're learning piano. Now, every one of the preceding lessons follows this same basic formula. As you can see in the upper corner, there is the basic explanation and illustration of the lesson concept. Next to that is the basic lesson plan. Below that is the music with the finger numbers and the lyrics, and below that is the teacher's accompaniment, with the fun illustration on the side. In this lesson, the bass clef is introduced to teach students the 5-finger position in the left hand. Lesson 3, the pogo people, introduces the intervals of a perfect fourth and a perfect fifth, and illustrates them on the grand staff and on the piano, as you can see in the upper left corner. This lesson has a unique activity in which students take a pencil and mark the perfect fourths and perfect fifths in their music. This will help them better learn the lesson concept. The final lesson of Chapter 1, Playing Catch with Papa, has students playing with both hands asynchronously for the first time. Because they're playing with both hands, there are no lyrics in this lesson, so that students can focus on their switching hands and changing finger numbers. To further help differentiate between the different finger numbers, they are color-coded blue for right hand and green for left hand respectively. So as I mentioned before, every single one of the preceding lessons in this book uses the same formula of explaining and illustrating a new concept, giving a simple lesson plan to follow, and giving music with finger numbers for students to learn. In addition, every single lesson has a fun and colorful illustration to keep everything fresh and exciting. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Classical Parlor Piano Method book. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Hernandez. I'm currently 20 years old and I have been studying the piano for 9 years now. I attend the UTRGV and I am currently an undergraduate in my junior year. I'll be presenting my instructional piano book entitled A Book for the Aspiring and Novice Pianist, written by myself, and is illustrated by Mendiola-Tagle. If we jump into the table of contents, I have the following listed. Preface, things to consider before playing. Chapter 1, position for starters getting accustomed at the piano. Chapter 2, finishing the octave by performing crossovers and exploring different keys. Chapter 3, finger and hand independence. Chapter 4, foreshadowing piano techniques in future piano repertoire. Chapter 5, a focus on musicianship and voicing the repertoire. And I will also have an appendix section inserted for students' reference, and they can go ahead and check the grand staff label, different kinds of chords, major and minor scales, and of course, the links for my instructional videos to accompany my book. Now, if we jump on to page 3, I have an instructional description and photo that demonstrates ideal body posture and position at the piano. The next slide contains 2 pictures of me performing proper hand position. I physically demonstrate my example where I instructed to wrap a hand around a closed fist in order to create nice curled fingers when playing the piano. In the following page, I introduced the gravity concept. I included a video demonstrating how to naturally let my arms fall in order to release tension. If the weight of gravity is thought of, it would help reduce tension rather than produce tense mechanical motions. In the same page, I introduced the 3-step initiation to play, which is focus, breathe, and exhale the attack. This helps to start a piece assuringly, and I've added performance videos of myself initiating before I play. Plus, it'll be a great way to get to know me better. Now, the first chapter will start out with a simple 5-note position in the key of C. I give clear instructions to play these exercises ascending and descending using different dynamics for each run. Having them play one run fortissimo and the other pianissimo, in time will have their fingers accustomed to the piano. I inform the student in the description below what a triad is and that the tonic and median and dominant will always be in blue for this reason. The next page has them easing into F major. This is why the B natural gradually turns into a B flat to show that different keys are closely related to each other. The theoretical section at the bottom of the page displays a heavily colored full C major scale. This will transition nicely into the next page where I reiterate the reason why I color code my scales, but this time I include the major 7th tone and explain how adding that tone to a triad will create the major 7th chord, and this will be in purple. After I recommend memorizing my keys and explain the 8th note rhythm, I listed intervals from minor 2nd to perfect octave for ear training practice. It is better to explain these concepts now so that way they won't progress in an ignorant manner. If you look to the next slide, I created 2 simple side reading excerpts that revolve around the 5-finger note position in other keys and the root triad. Now, I conclude this chapter with the 2 melodic pieces. The first and the second excerpt revolve around the 5-note position, but it is busy in 8-note motion. This is supposed to help students no longer have flimsy fingers since we are trying to get those fingers accustomed to the piano. I also provide instructional videos for these exercises as well. Now, chapter 2 is heavily based on scales. Scales can bridge into so many concepts. In this chapter, the students just learned how to cross fingers in order to travel several octaves across the board, have learned several cadences and chords, and have learned new 16-note rhythms. I conclude this chapter with melodic pieces like Rooftop Haven in order to keep things musical, which also contain previous concepts discussed in previous chapters. On to chapter 3. I compose some excerpts to slowly ease the student into the difficulty of box, fugal, and round techniques. The first excerpt simply introduces the round technique, and the second one is certainly a longer version. These are called challenge pieces with the same creeper font and will be something present in almost every chapter for fun and help accomplish the chapter's goal. I colored the subject or the melody a neon color to keep an ear out for the melody. Now, on to the last chapter 5. I intend to instill musicianship while attempting to teach pieces that have been infused with concepts discussed in previous chapters. First, I introduced Candy Darling for inspiration. With the introduction of Candy, hopeful lyrics, biographical information, and a beautiful original illustration, I hope the students learn to play with perspective rather than in a mindless manner. The repertoire is more difficult. Candy's mantra is infused with a modulation, scalar sections, and a chance to voice chords tastefully. I hope that with my book, I can help people practice piano with the right technical and theoretical knowledge to be able to further their piano progress onto the right path. Most importantly, I just want to show the reader that artistry through music is attainable, and I want to assist them in making sure they have the right foundation so they can achieve their personal creative goals. I close my book and this video with a personal letter I write to the reader. Be kind to yourself. Improvement is a process, and although it can be slow, progress is still progress. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Davila. I am a pianist of 10 years and a beginner's piano instructor. Today, I will be introducing my method book, which is called A Young Pianist's Journey by me and illustrated by Samantha Cecopieri. In the first page of this book, as you can see, we have the introduction that communicates the message of music and its purpose, along with what you should look for in this method book. Subsequently, the following 3 pages display the table of contents. In this case, we will go over Chapter 1, Introduction to Playing. This chapter begins with the correct sitting position of the piano before playing, along with some recommendations such as posture and arm length. Following the next page, here it shows the correct hand position for the student to make, a round hand shape along with some instructions. The next page simply introduces the finger numbers. What number represents each finger and which finger to use in a specific note. Next, we have a small introduction to the piano keyboard and what it consists of, such as the number of keys, as well as the difference of lower and higher sounds as you go up and down the piano. As you can see, the next pages are for the lessons of the chapter. Each lesson follows the same structure. On the top right, we have a small keyboard that shows the keys and finger numbers that the student will be using for this specific piece. On the top left, we have the title of the piece and some instructions for the guidance. Now, the method that I utilize for this beginner's first lesson exercise, Outside the Cave, since this is created for young beginners, was using the format of circles and numbers rather than the grand staff. The teacher can explain to the student the different numbers and the note values. After that, in the bottom, there is a small teaching duet that can be played along with the students. The rest of the preceding lessons follow the same format. Some pieces have specific exercises like little birds that make the student go from one octave to the other. Using the illustrations in the top, the student can see they are using fingers 2, 3, and 4 on the 3 black keys. Then they skip the 2 black keys and go up to the 3 black keys and play the same pattern. Then go back and play back and forward. For the third lesson, the red flag, pieces we introduce the use of the thumb, finger 1 with a white key. And for the fourth lesson, yellow light, now we are moving from the 3 black keys to the 2 black keys, incorporating the thumb used from the previous lesson. So to recap, the form goes as follows. In the top right, we have the keyboard with the finger numbers and the keys that the student will be using. In the top left, we have the name of the piece as well as some instructions. In the middle is the piece itself. Finally, at the bottom, we have a teacher accompaniment that can be played along with the student. And that is the first chapter for my method book, A Young Pianist's Journey. Thank you.